there living in Chinatown, dealing with police violence. We've done workshops with CSUMB student groups, and we're always willing to do these full workshops where we can actually role play and engage with each other in a way to practice speaking to police if we are stopped. Part of it is basic know your rights information if you were stopped or see someone stopped by the police or you're being searched, as well as actively filming the police or reactively if you see this and you're not even prepared, but if you have a smartphone on you or a camera, to be able to kind of like do this safely and thoughtfully in a way that doesn't put yourself in harm. And I do want to clarify that there, even though filming and observing the police in California and in most states in the country is legal, it doesn't mean that you won't face legal or physical repercussions. If you look on YouTube, there's plenty of videos of people getting arrested and sometimes attacked by police for filming them. But the overwhelming majority of people can do it safely if you do it carefully. That also means, though, that if someone is attacked, it doesn't mean they did something wrong. We know that the police will arbitrarily and enact violence against people who they feel like, for all kinds of reasons, specifically around race, class, and just any kind of opposition to them. So the things to keep in mind, and like I said, a full workshop would be better to kind of practice this stuff and kind of figure out how to de-escalate. But some basic things to keep in mind is you don't want to present yourself as aggressive to the police. You don't want to present yourself as disrupting what they're doing. If you were filming someone, or even if you were pulled over in the car or stopped on the street. But there's just some basic things to do. And so the one side, the Know Your Rights section of the flyer, this is from the Berkeley Cop Watch group, which lifted it from the ACLU. So this is information from a legal organization. The other side is our own kind of take on our version of Cop Watch, which is actively filming the police, which is something that we do occasionally, go out and walk around, especially downtown Monterey area, where the kind of on the peninsula is kind of one of the really high points of police violence against homeless people, houseless people in the peninsula outside of Salinas and areas like that. So just some really basic things. I won't go over the Know Your Rights stuff too much because you can just read that and the details will be in there. But just some basic things, if you see someone stopped by the police and you can go get information, you can potentially help them. If you're able to film it, which I'll go into the Cop Watch side later, and document the information. If you are detained or if you are, whether you're pulled over or walking down the street, just kind of read through the details there. There's just some basic things such as not consenting to searches, asking if you're being detained or arrested, which are two distinct things, and trying to get out of the situation if you are not, if they verbally say that you're not being detained, to talk your way through the process that you are going to disengage with them. So like I said, read through there because this is actually legal information from the ACLU, American Civil Liberties Union. On the Cop Watch part, yeah.
So why should we not consent to searches?
So some of the stuff such as asking if you're being detained or saying that you don't consent to a search, it could potentially help you in legal cases if you were arrested for something. Evidence can sometimes be thrown out if it's found through an illegal search and things like that.
And we are one of the states that allows people to not consent to search.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How about if you're just walking down the street and the cop just pulls you over and says you're drunk and you're not?
I'm not a lawyer. I can't speak to each of these situations. But they're just so the stuff on the Know Your Rights side, if you got a flyer, it's just some basic stuff to enact. There's probably plenty of loopholes that could allow them to still.
I got two bad legs, and one day I got pulled over by the cops on Main Street in Salinas, and I was going to volunteer at the church where I normally volunteer at, and they pulled me over and they said I was drunk at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I showed them my legs, and if I wouldn't have shown them my legs, the cop would have told me to carry.
Yeah, so I think you did what was the right thing. You try to explain the situation, and you wouldn't want to consent to a search or consent to even if they wanted to breathalyze you or test you, to not consent to these kind of things. To not physically resist, though, of course, because they'll use that to enact incredible violence or legal consequences against you. So just some basic things like that. Try to explain your situation, but don't talk too much and don't give them information they don't need. It's just that's the general trend on this side of this information. So yeah. So on the cop watching aspect, the filming and observing the police, there's just and some of this information is on the Know Your Rights section, but we have a bunch more information here. And some of the general idea about the filming and observing, because I can't go into the details as much without a full workshop where we're practicing it, but kind of the idea behind this is that on the one hand, you may be able to, in that moment, hold the police accountable in a way that causes them to de-escalate themselves because they don't want their actions to be filmed. Or if their actions are starting to be filmed, then they might stop because they don't want any kind of repercussions. We know that that's incredibly rare. Even this footage of people being murdered by the police or beaten by the police really horribly, such as Jose Velasco, who was beaten last summer in Salinas by the police, is still in jail, and I think still facing charges and going through the court stuff for that. Or all of these countless videos of Tamir Rice, of Eric Garner, all these people. So we know that this is not foolproof at all, but one idea is there's a chance that you might, especially around here where the police try to present a kind of a really nice, smiley, liberal facade, that you might be able to get them to potentially de-escalate themselves. If that doesn't happen, or if they don't even engage in anything illegal themselves, which the cops do all the time, but let's say they don't, and there's no way to hold them accountable directly, there's still the potential for supporting the person who's being arrested or harassed by them, if you can document what happens and show that they didn't commit anything illegal. You don't want to just go put these on YouTube because that can be incriminating for people, and you want to also try to, if you can safely, explain that you're not there to mock them, you're not going to put this online, you're there to support the person, and if you can, try to collect as much information as possible. Again, if you can do this safely without making it worse for the person, without aggravating the police, and without having them turn on you. So again, this goes through the details of what you want to get, but basic things like the police badge numbers, the name of the person being detained or arrested or harassed, if you can do this all safely. So there's just some basic stuff to go through. And then finally, if you do get any kind of footage, you can send it to us. We have contact information here. So when Jose Velasco was beaten really badly last year, and this video went on YouTube, a week later we had or a couple weeks later maybe, we had a support rally outside the courthouse where he had his first hearing, and a friend showed up and they had footage from another angle showing extra levels of kind of aggression and abuse by the police, and we were able to share that and things like that. So if you don't want to share something personally because you don't want to face any repercussions, because there are, for example, the man who filmed Eric Garner being killed by the police in New York has been harassed since then by the police and faced all kinds of charges because the police have turned such a strong eye towards him. Yeah, the shop owner of Allen Store, and then his face stuff. So just general harassment. So if you don't want it, you can send us this information and we can try to make sure that's not going to be incriminating and that it'll actually help. And then I think finally one other kind of underlying thing for all this, even if for this individual situation you don't prevent the police from doing anything harmful and you are able to help the person out in their legal situation, I think it's pretty clear that the footage of this police violence has been really, really important for galvanizing a broader support and resistance to police violence, because the people who experience it, even they might not realize the scale to which this is happening, and might not understand how widespread this is in their communities. And then for all of us who are totally oblivious because we don't experience this in our day-to-day lives, it's a way to make it really clear to people that this is happening. So even if this kind of footage has been really important in galvanizing this. So yeah, do you have a question?
Yes, I do. We're talking about our criminal justice system, and when we're talking about it, criminal activity coming from the people who's supposed to be protecting us. So why is it that you're trying to focus on more legal actions or attorneys for community people when this kind of activity is happening on the other side, instead of trying to, it's good to explain how we interact with our law enforcement, but still, criminal activity is still criminal activity no matter which side it's coming from. So we have to do more to provide legal actions against any criminal activity. We need to provide more interaction with our state district attorney's office, our county district attorney's office, and the whole jurisdiction of police activity, as well as with telling our community how they should, try to interact on their own.
Yeah, so this isn't like supposed to be like the only or a comprehensive reaction to police violence. This is one particular way, and I think all throughout all today, we're talking about all kinds of different ways, organizing collectively through the homeless union, or organizing around people who face privilege and don't experience this with the Whites for Racial Equity and NCBI. And then the Direct Action Monterey Network is coming from an approach where we want to confront these things directly. We don't act as an organization, and this is not the only way to do things. Of course, everyone here is doing legitimate work. But we don't engage in any kind of like legal or lobbying kind of things. This is about directly empowering ourselves in the community, because even if you wanted to engage in kind of some kind of like legal or legislative kind of approaches, those things can take months or years or decades. I mean, we're still dealing with this, how many years of police violence, how many decades. So it's just a way of like right now, if you're walking down the street to your car, or and the cops stop you or stop someone, how do you react, and how do we do this directly? And this is about just kind of
I understand.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, we still need to look at the bigger picture too.
Yeah, I think
while we're doing this.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different ways to do it, and I think also really supporting kind of community-based spontaneous resistance, such as we've seen in Ferguson and Baltimore, Milwaukee recently, and even in Salinas. There were the massive wave of organizing that happened a couple summers ago in 2014 when the police shot and killed 4 unarmed men in Salinas, Latino men, mostly immigrant farm workers. The response happened because a person videotaped Carlos Mejia, who was the 3rd man killed that year, being shot by the police, and that galvanized people the same way that the footage of Eric Garner has, and the footage of Alton Sterling and all these people, Tamir Rice, and actually groups formed and groups met each other that would never have met each other back in 2014, and continue to work together to this day. If it hadn't been for that resident, that neighbor who filmed this horrible act of police violence and murder. And so it's just about something to kind of that we can do immediately, and we can do in a kind of grassroots, decentralized way that doesn't have to engage with these large institutions, which take a lot to move. So it's just kind of that's what it's all about. I think I'm kind of getting off from the cop watch stuff there, and I think there's not really much I could do more without a full workshop. So go over the flyers, look up more resources if you're interested, and contact us, the Direct Action Monterey Network, if you want us to do a Know Your Rights Cop Watch workshop. And we do them both because we want people to know how to use their rights in any kind of interaction, as well as actively filming them. So I guess I can take some quick questions, or a minute, or should we?
Just a quick one, I guess. Do you know, is there a legal distance? And if so, it's like 20, 30 feet or something. I'm trying to get, because I went to I told them about body-worn cameras. They did a thing on the grand jury report on that. And, I'm trying to say, I need to be within 8 to 10 feet of people filming, of people, because otherwise you can't be within earshot. You can't help their case much by just, and then as soon as you go away, you get blocked. All the other cops block the view right in front of that, and that's completely illegal too. I mean, so.
Maybe it is, maybe it's not, and they'll get away with it either way. So I'm not a lawyer, so I couldn't answer those kind of specific questions, but the way that we approach that is, just use what feels intuitive, and if the cops give you a distance, then follow it, because otherwise they could arrest you regardless of whether or not there is even a legal distance, or whether they even know it. We know that most of the time the police don't even know the laws in that much detail. There's too many laws for them to know, plus they just don't care because they have a gun and a baton and a taser, and they have the ability to use violence without any kind of accountability against us. So just do what feels intuitively safe to you, and what will prevent the police from having any kind of excuse, even though they don't need one, to arrest you or to hurt you physically. So I am not a lawyer, I can't answer that kind of a specific of a question, but so have a real fast.
That was a good explanation.
I don't normally use a lawyer, I don't need a lawyer, but if I were arrested, I'd need one. And the question is, how do I go about getting someone who would act in my interests?
Yeah, so that's just really out of the scope of what I could talk about. So I think we'll have to leave that. Yeah.
What's the question?
Yeah, I think we're gonna have a discussion after this. So I think those kind of things are really important to talk about. How to engage with the public defender's office, how to find lawyers who are private lawyers who are sympathetic. I think those are things that are really, really important, and we should have a flyer on that itself. But it's out of the scope of what I can talk about. So I think I'll wrap up now, because I think we're gonna have a discussion after this for these kind of things to come up. What else? What are the holes that we need to fill? What are the cracks that need to be filled to complete the picture that we're presenting today? and have all these kind of broader conversations. So thanks everyone for
Thank
that.
you.